my first question to you would be, how would you define the approach of Bureau of Indian Standards towards developing standards for the digital transportation industry?
So, I'm sure you know Bureau of Indian Standards is now the national standards body for this. So, they've been here since the independence of the country. 1947, we had started Indian Standards Association, and then in 1986, we became the Bureau of Indian Standards. And recently, very recently, in 2016, the national standard. It was still Bureau of Indian Standards, but we have now moved with the national standards body of the country through the Act of 2016 of India. So, as our role as a national standards body, it is our duty that we come forward with standards for safety, ensuring health, and every single thing that is per se the quality ecosystem that serves the quality ecosystem of the country. So elevator and escalator form a big major part of the standards of the country. So we have a technical committee within BIS which works specifically for this, which is EP 25. And what we have been doing, which is a very old committee, it has been there since inception of and right now, our lookout is to align our development standards with the international standards, while also keeping in view that we have certain Indian markets that we need to adhere. So that is the approach that we normally follow with respect to standardization.
So what did the process of formulating the Indian standard for lifts, escalators, and moving walks entail? And also, what was the duration of taking the Indian standards development from concept to creation?
Okay, so I'm sure you've heard of IS 17900 series, which is the new standards on lifts. So we initially had standards before, 14665, the very famous series of Indian standards, which were published in 1999. Now, when we have been a part of the ISO development process also, the ISO TC 178, India is a very active member there in working groups and everything. So when 8100 series of ISO was being released, we were part of the formulation process. We realized we need to align ourselves with those requirements, and that's when the idea started. When those standards got published, that we need to bring those standards to the country. We may need to make a few changes, a little twitches here and there to align to our requirements. So we started the work. The idea started when those standards got published, which was in 2021. So our actual work started right after that. So in 2019 the idea came. In 2021 we started working on the standards, we started reading, and it was a very rigorous process because I don't know if you're aware or not, those are bulky standards. Those two standards specifically, the safety rule standards and the component standards, they're very bulky standards, and our committee sat together for hours and hours, weeks and months, and they sat together and decided on what could be kept in toto, what could be adopted in toto in the country, and what could be changed a little bit. And it took almost you can say a year or so, more than a year, to finally complete the process and publish those standards.
So you say bulky, is that the word you're saying?
Yes, yes,
it's
yes.
a very heavy
document.
Code. Yeah, and so you guys are trying to bring it down to make it more usable.
Exactly. Yeah, and we also should read the document first. We should be aware what we're giving out in the public for the people to use as a code, and we should be aware of the requirements. If there is any change required, so we should be aware of every single sentence or line that the code speaks of.
Right.
So we had to go through every single one. The committee sat through this entire process, and we made the changes where required, and wherever possible we tried to align with the international practices.
So I think definitely the next question was on the challenges which you faced. Can you specifically say one or two challenges which you felt was really difficult to?
So basically, I won't call it a challenge, but I'll say it was something that came out of the process of working on those standards. As I mentioned, we read through those standards. It was a very tedious process. So while we were reading through the documents, we came out with certain points where we thought we need to inform the ISO community also that there are certain requirements, India-specific requirements per se, which maybe, if possible, should also be adopted as part of the international standards. So when we came out with that list and the justification, that was kind of a very difficult work and a very difficult groundwork that we did. And I'm very happy to say this because the ISO standards are now under revision. India has sent a huge number of comments based on our discussions that we had during that time, so that our India-specific requirements get imbibed into those standards while they're being revised. So you can say it was a challenge and an opportunity.
An opportunity at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, maybe the next fourth one.
So the Indian standards were published on January 10th, 2023, with a transition period until December 21st, 2024. What's been the feedback received by BIS so far?
The standard actually was published in December 22. The January date that you say is actually the date of the Gazette of the country.
Okay.
So they came into effect from December 2022, and as you rightly said, they are now valid till the implementation ends this month itself in 2024. The feedback has been very nice. In fact, we have received inputs from all the major giants and even the small industries saying that they have completed a major chunk of the transition from the older standards to the newer standards. They have completed the design phase, a big part of manufacturing phase. So you can say they have been reading the standards, implementing them, and they have actually implemented and reported back to us that they have completed a major chunk of implementation of this document. And I'm very happy to hear those feedbacks, because at the end of the day, when you publish a document, it must be implemented, and if we are getting feedbacks like that, nothing better than that.
Yeah. Is there a timetable that you have laid out?
So we haven't laid out any timetable.
Okay.
We publish the standards. The implementing agencies within the country are normally the electrical inspectorates in each of the states, because this is a state subject. So wherever there are lift acts and rules, those agencies, let's say the electrical inspectorates in each of the states of the country where we have lift acts and rules, they lay out the time periods for implementation of various phases.
Similar in the U.S.
Yeah. So
the local jurisdictions are basically
Exactly.
adopting portions of it and implementing it based on what they think the capacity is to make those changes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our job ends when we publish the standard, but it's just the publication is not the job. We also handhold when we realize there may be some issues while implementing. If there is any issue in understanding, they may reach out to Bureau of Indian Standards. We discuss it within the technical committee, because of course we understand when one reads the code, there may be certain issues that may not be very clear to implement while implementing.
Right.
So we try to bridge that gap, of course, and the technical committee does that, the one that writes the standards.
Sure.
So it has been a very good journey, I'll say, because of the feedback I've received.
That's great. That's great.
So just taking on that itself, what were the methodologies you used to circulate and compile these suggestions and feedback?
Yeah. So when we had drafted the initial documents, BIS is a signatory to the WTO TBT norms, so we have to follow the international trade practices, and we send out the documents for wide circulation. Minimum period of 30 days is given. So it extends up to 90 days. The normal norm is 60 to 90 days. So during that wide circulation period, what we did was we tried to have as many webinars and seminars. Actually, this period, if I remember very well, this was the COVID period, the COVID duration. So we had all gone virtual. So we tried to connect to as many stakeholders as possible through national webinars. We put it out on the international WTO TBT website. It goes on our website. It was released. So whenever the comments came, we had created small panels and groups which would sit together within the technical committee to resolve and come out with a solution. And of course, the process normally that we follow, and was also followed for these standards, is whenever we get those kind of recommendations, the technical committee takes the final call on those decisions. Okay. So it was you can say it was a give and take, because the webinars that we had, we received quite a few comments on that through those webinars. Yeah.
So would you around 6th one, sir?
So what about the next step? How does the BIS plan to enforce or monitor the implementations of the new Indian standards?
So as I mentioned,
you guys aren't really enforcing.
Yeah. As I mentioned, we aren't the enforcing agencies. But if there is a national act, not just in this industry, whenever there is a national act or a national quality control order issued by the central government, we are most of the times we are made as the implementing agency. So we have a certification wing for products that can be certified, which can be tested and certified, and we provide licenses. It is not true currently in the case of elevator industry, but that is the normal process that the Government of India takes support from BIS in this way. So you can say we have a separate wing for formulation of Indian standards, like the one we have ETD 25, it's the Standard Formulation Committee, And then we have the certification wing or the conformity assessment wing, which takes care of the conformity assessment processes. But that, of course, happens when a quality control order is issued by the central government of India. So
But there's no certification currently.
currently, it's not there.
For the elevator sector.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So that is all with the state governments.
yeah.
As I mentioned.
So how do you see the IS being a game changer for the vertical transportation industry?
14665 series that I mentioned, it was released in 1999.
Yes.
So these standards came out in December of 2022. So almost a period of 23 years. The industry had already shifted a lot. The safety codes had to be brought out somewhere. They were being implemented. I'll compliment this industry because they have been very diligent in ensuring safe practices within their own companies or organizations. So it was, of course, very essential that we bring out a code from the national standards body and we jot it down for everyone, not just the giants in the industry but also the MSME sector also for them to follow. So I'll say it was a big step, a milestone change, of course, and we have also aligned with what is there in the international market. The ISO documents, we've taken that as a base. We have basically derived our standards from the base document, that is the ISO document, while also taking care of our market needs. So of course that is one thing that I'll say the ETD 25 committee has really worked hard for it.
Yeah, the next one.
So what is the type of change or transformation that you guys expect or envision from the standards during 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, so the ISO documents are under revision and we have sent comments on that. So we are expecting them to come out already taking care of Indian requirements, because we now have already, you can say we're now sitting on the table while the standards are being formulated and we have a say there. So I'm hoping when those standards come out, the next step would be revising these standards, probably with, of course, the stakeholders have to take a decision. So whenever the industry feels ready, the next step would be revising it in the coming years, and we'll try to align it more or less with the ISO document, because our requirements are hopefully taken care of there. So that is one thing that we're looking forward to in the coming years.
Okay. Now, since you all have done so much of work towards it and it's in the process of implementation, what advice or guidance would you give for the various segments of people in the industry vis-a-vis the BIS?
Read the document. Read the document. Read the document. When you read the document, you may or may not understand, but you read the document, and when you face something, you come to us. The technical committee is there to support you. There may be technical issues that you do not understand per se what is written in the document, but reading is important. That's the first step, and of course everything else follows.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Probably a lot of people don't want to read a document. They don't want to read, particularly a technical document that they might not fully understand.
Yes, true, very true. And unless you read, you can't implement.
Yeah, this is true. That's actually what our next question is really about. How will you guys provide help, like a help desk, or online, offline, for clarifying any questions or doubts or implementations of the standard?
So we have a cell within BIS, and that is basically with respect to conformance of the standards. So it is kind of you can say a complaint redressal forum, but for understanding the documents you directly reach out to the committee. We have a mail ID, it is there on the BIS website also. You mail it to us, and as soon as your mail comes in, it goes directly to the technical committee.
Okay.
So those group of experts, they immediately sit down and they try to bring a solution to your problem. So most of the times what we understand is when we receive queries, it is because the standard has probably not been read completely, and it has been read in segments. So we understand, but at least it's a good start. And we're always there to help. The ETD 25 committee is always there to help in this.
I mean, if people are asking questions, that's a good sign.
That's a good sign.
Yeah,
true.
That
That's
means
a good
they read
sign.
it.
Yes,
That
at
means
least they've gone through
they're
it.
confused and they need advice, but whatever. So.
And they're willing to implement it. That's why they're reading it.
Yeah.
That's okay. And going forward from here, like following the implementation of the changes now, What do you see the update and periodically it's going to happen in periodical intervals, or how is it going to be?
So normally what we do is we have a review every 5 years for all standards, be it the elevator industry or any other industry. We review it 5 years, but that is a minimum period that we give. We can do it before that also. Like as I was mentioning, if the ISO standards are getting revised, we're already looking at it, and we know this is going to come down somewhere down the path, maybe in 2-3 years, or maybe earlier than that if the industry is geared up to make the change.
Right.
So we always make sure that our standards are reviewed at least once in 5 years, and that's how the validity of the standard continues.
Okay.
So
That was a time frame you're looking at.
yes.
Okay. So we have to ask the last
Just the last question?
Yeah.
Before this last question, are the standards, I mean, they're freely available, there's no cost or anything?
Yes. The standards that are adopted, that are identical adoptions of ISO are not freely available. But the ones that we have made indigenously or they are modified, let's say we've made a lot of technical changes even though we've used a base standard from ISO, and we have indigenously made the document, that is completely available free of cost from BIS.
Okay.
So you go to the website, we have an e-sales portal, anybody can download it. It's a very simple process, a simple registration process. You have to fill in a few details and you can download it.
Okay.
So all indigenous documents are freely available.
Okay, good. So how can Elevator World India contribute or collaborate to help promote the Indian standards, updates, and announcements for the vertical transportation industry?
So I will look forward to your cooperation when I am switching over to the new standard. And that is coming down very soon. I'm expecting it to come down very soon. And even right now, during the implementation process, we can give you certain reading materials for the elevator industry. That these are the major changes that we have introduced, and the major changes with respect to the ISO document. Because if we say the multinationals or the giants, they may already be following the ISO codes.
Yeah.
So it will be very easy for them if we give out certain materials out, and you can give them out to read that these are the changes that the Indian documents are listing, and these are the changes with respect to the earlier Indian standards. So we have a list of those kind of materials for easy read for the public. And once they get to read it, I'm sure it will be easier for them to pick up the standard and study it.
Yeah.
Because then they don't look at the quantum of pages.
Yeah.
Then they know this is
over 20-25,000 people reading this magazine.
Yeah.
So we definitely would like you all to give us regular updates on what's
Right.
happening so that we can publish it. It's free of
Yeah.
cost, and Elevator World would definitely like to contribute to making sure that it is reaching, and we can have periodic interviews like this or talking on various points.
Yes,
Then if you can elaborate on each, what are the major changes, we can do a series on that itself, maybe on LinkedIn or something. So that
Right.
we can have a lot of people even commenting or coming back.
Yeah.
So we have over 10,000 people in LinkedIn channel hours.
Okay.
So that is the most important thing, where the real industry.
The outreach, yeah.
So if we can subdivide it into various changes what you're bringing in, we can talk about that and get the feedback from people.
Yeah, I think we can work on that. That would be fantastic.
Do you guys produce a press release when there's a change or
Yes,
whatever?
we do.
Okay.
Whenever a new standard or a milestone change like this happens, we have a press release.
Yeah.
We don't mention the changes, but we inform the public that this has been published.
Okay.
This is a new document, and this is the scope or the gist what it covers, and why we have published it.
Yeah.
So that is covered, of course, there in the press release.
But I mean, unfortunately, we have not been getting that from because Vijay has been writing,
Yeah.
but he's not been receiving that, which we feel is an injustice to the industry, because it's information which should go to them, and our subscribers are really from this industry.
Yes.
So we would like to really collaborate with you all to see how best we can resolve it.
Yeah, I think that would be a very good idea.
Yeah, we should do that. Okay. So thank you so much, and it was wonderful chatting, and I'll continue to communicate with you and
Thank
from
you.
your own, and let's see how best we can collaborate to make the information publicly available.
Definitely.